Committee for July 10th, 2025 is hereby called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Keith Larson.
Here.
Alderman Dan Barrero.
Here.
Alderman Edward Bugg.
Here.
Vice Chair Carl Franco.
Here.
And Chairman Masiacos is present.
Clerk, can you please read the approval of the minutes?
Item 25-0515, approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on June 12, 2025.
All right. Is there any questions or comments? Is there a motion from Alderman Carl Franco? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Ed Bugg. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to provide public comment?
No, we do not.
All right, thank you. Clerk, will you please read the first item on the agenda?
Item 25-0554, an ordinance amending the Ward 6 budget for fiscal year 2025.
Alderman Seville, I see you're here. Would you care to say a word or no? We're good, or
You want me to, I'll say a few words.
it's up to you.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Masiacos. We need to do a budget amendment in order to be able to fund the traffic calming devices for the ward, our first ones, by the way. And we're putting them on nearby schools that have never had them before, Hill School and St. Rita's. So I think it's important for the ward to have these, some of the concerns that I've gotten and received from the parents and from the neighborhood. And so this is just a bureaucratic transfer that we need to do to meet our budgetary expectations for the city of Aurora. So, and I'm hoping the expenditure is going to be less than $40,000, but we decided to transfer $40,000 just to be on the safe side, so I don't have to come back and bother you guys again.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor by Alderman Franco. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Keith Larson. All those in favor?
A question.
Aye.
Pardon?
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Bugg, my apologies.
Thank you. Alderman Seville, I commend you. This is, everyone knows this is one of our major issues in the city, traffic and speed and those things in our wards. I'm glad Ms. Coulter is here today. And I talked to Alderman Seville a little bit about this. Will this need to come back once we get a bid, or when we go to IML in September, we have about 10 different vendors walk up to us, say, you need all the traffic calming in Aurora. We agree with them, but of course they're all trying to sell us. So how is that going to work later?
So Jolene Coulter, Director of Purchasing. I know Alderman Seville has been working with our engineering department on ideas and options. There is a cooperative that they have a tentative price from. So if they choose to go that route, then, which is what many of you have used on that same cooperative program, then we would not need to bring it back to council. It would be under $50,000. However, it would show up on the on that report that we sent out. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
One more time. Anybody have another comment? Nope, nope. All right. Do the vote again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Anybody opposed?
If you need a 6 vote, I can vote yes.
All right, thank you. Well, thanks for showing up, Alderman.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We're going to go a little bit out of order here per request of our Chief Financial Officer. Item 2.5, if the committee has no worries or concerns, item 25-0543, we're going to address that comment right now real quick. So if the clerk can please read that item on the agenda.
Item 25-0543, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of adjustable rate demand economic development revenue bonds, Aurora University, in one or more series of the City of Aurora, Kane, DuPage, Will, and Kendall counties, Illinois, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $16 million, and confirming the sale thereof, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement, trust indenture, bond purchase agreement, and related documents, authorizing the distribution of an official statement, approving the delivery of a letter of credit, a reimbursement agreement, and a remarketing agreement, and authorizing certain related matters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the accommodation on the switch in the order of the agenda. We have a couple of representatives from a couple of outside organizations here today who are going to assist in the presentation, and I appreciate the accommodation. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer and City Treasurer. Over the years, the City of Aurora and Aurora University have collaborated to provide financing for various campus improvements and facilities in pursuit of constructing a premier campus for higher learning here in the City of Aurora. The city has issued tax-exempt bonds on behalf of Aurora University to lower financing costs for qualified improvements in accordance with IRS rules. The last such transaction was before the council in the 2019-2020 timeframe, and proceeds were utilized to refinance bonds that were issued in 2004 and also to provide for improvements to athletic and administrative facilities. The financing mechanism that has been used in these transactions is conduit debt in the form of private activity bonds. While the city is the issuer of these bonds from a legal standpoint, the bonds do not appear on the city's financial statements. Additionally, there is absolutely no obligation to the city to make any debt service payments nor to levy any taxes in support of any debt service payments. The obligation for repayment remains exclusively with Aurora University. The documents are all explicit in this regard. Currently, the university is looking to construct a 45,000 square foot learning commons in the coming months. The university is requesting that the city approve the issuance of an amount of conduit debt, private activity bonds, in an amount not to exceed $16 million, along with the execution of the related documents to facilitate the financing of these improvements on a tax-exempt basis. Representatives from Aurora University are present today, and I will have them elaborate on the specifics of the project in a few moments. Aurora University is a not-for-profit organization organized under 501c3 laws, but does not qualify under tax laws to be able to issue tax-exempt debt directly. The purposes for which the financing is sought do qualify for tax exemption, but again, due to its status as a 501c3, AU cannot directly issue tax-exempt debt under IRS regulations. The city, as a unit of local government, can serve as a conduit issuer to issue tax-exempt debt for the benefit of Aurora University so that the university can take advantage of lower financing costs. That is the transaction before you today. These types of arrangements are fairly common and are very useful in lowering financing costs for certain qualified improvements and projects under IRS rules. Again, while the city is the issuer for the transaction, it is important to note and to understand that the city has no obligation for repayment of the bonds. The bonds do not appear on the face of the city's financial statements. Additionally, the documents state explicitly in several locations that the city has no obligation for repayment of the debt and that bondholders have no right to compel the city to levy a tax or to provide for any debt service payments related to the bonds. Those responsibilities fall to the university and its guarantors. Additionally, any city costs incurred as a result of the issuance of the bonds are paid for by Aurora University. Therefore, the issuance of the bonds will have no impact on the city's residents, on any tax levy, revenue streams, nor expenses. The impacts to the community will be only positive. The bonds issued allow for lower financing costs for the improvements. Staff does recommend approval of the ordinance and the related documents. In a moment, I will turn the floor over to Sharon Maxwell, Senior Vice President for Business and Finance at Aurora University, and she will go through the project in detail. After Sharon's comments, I will ask for Nancy Burke from Chapman & Cutler to offer a brief overview of the transaction and the related safeguards protecting the city. Chapman & Cutler is representing the city as bond counsel in this transaction. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Sharon Maxwell, Senior Vice President for Business and Finance at Aurora University, and she will go through the project and we'll run through the slide deck before you.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon, and I really appreciate your time and attention to this matter. This is something that the university is very excited about. in that we are constructing a 3-story, 45,000 square foot learning commons that will fall along Prairie in front of our existing parking garage, therefore masking that garage from Prairie, which is not a bad or unintended consequence. This is meant to be the jewel in our crown. This really would complete our 40-acre campus and is a very student-centered building. It will house our library, our career center, academic support services. It will provide for maker space, a content creation lab for podcasts or videos, and very, very flexible collaborative space, study areas. It's very student-centered. Aurora University does not currently have a student union. And this is meant to fill that space by giving, particularly our commuter students who are mostly local to the Aurora and surrounding areas, a place to go during the day to engage with their classmates, with their faculty, to engage in innovative learning opportunities. We're going to have a virtual reality opportunities to bring the world to our students right here on our main campus. Our Phillips Library, bless its heart, is quite dated. It's quite restrictive, and I just wanted to share with you what our project is and how excited we are. This gives you an idea of where the building is situated. At the top of your screen, that is north, that is the parking garage with Prairie Avenue to the south. And then we have our Hill Center for Student Success, which is the building there on the west, and a parking lot on the east. It's going to have lots of outdoor space. There'll be a berm that masks it from the street so that we can create these kind of internal and external environments for our students. Again, I said it's 3 stories. It's the loudest will be the first level, and as you gradually go up in the building, it's designed to get quieter and quieter. There is a 2-story atrium in the middle. And we truly believe that this building has the potential to be the jewel in the Aurora University crown, serving current students and our future generation of students for years to come. So we respectfully ask the passing of this ordinance to support us in this endeavor. We've partnered with the city before in 2019 and 2020, and we respectfully ask the same for 2025. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well,
Chairman.
we're finished? Is that,
Yeah,
nobody else is coming up? No
Yes,
one else is coming up?
Yes, if I could ask Nancy
Yes.
Burke
Yes.
from Chapman and Cutler, the city's bond counsel in the transaction, to maybe briefly walk through the transaction and its particulars, and again, as mentioned, some of the safeguards that are protecting the city.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. As Chris said, we serve as bond counsel to the issuer to the city of Aurora, and in that role, our responsibility is to prepare the core documents and to make sure all the federal tax law and state laws are complied with. And at the end of the transaction, we deliver a legal opinion to the market that the interest on the bonds is exempt from federal income taxation. Just like the city issues its own tax-exempt bonds to benefit its residents, to build buildings, roadways, etc., all of which has its base in federal tax law. Federal tax law also makes available to private not-for-profit institutions that qualify as 501c3. That's just the section of the tax regs. For tax-exempt debt. And the reason for that is just all of laws based in public policy, is to enable organizations, not-for-profit organizations, to help fulfill their missions, because if we didn't have organizations providing education, healthcare, social services, all those burdens would fall to both local and federal governments. So it's a way to support and relieve the burdens of federal government. That's basically the premise for tax-exempt bonds. But because it's a private institution, not a governmental, there are a myriad of federal and tax rules that need to be complied with. And our job is to make sure that that's complied with. One of those rules is that the bonds be issued by a conduit authority. So somebody there that knows who is issuing the bonds. Is it in fact a not-for-profit institution? What is the project? And to be that conduit. However, the liability for that debt rests solely with the not-for-profit, solely with, in this case, Aurora University. So the bonds are structured under a trust indenture. The proceeds are loaned by the city to Aurora. There's a loan agreement between the Aurora and the city, all of which makes quite clear that the complete obligation for the repayment of those bonds is from Aurora University, and they've also engaged a letter of credit bank to support those payment obligations. The loan agreement also contains a very robust indemnity should anything arise that would need the attention of the city, that the city would be reimbursed for any fees. I can't, to be honest, I don't know, that's such a rare happening. But the bonds themselves, the debt, are completely the obligation of the university. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that. I will say, Ms. Maxwell, your project does look like a crown jewel, but I think being on the campus, there's a lot of crown jewels. So I will agree and disagree with you on that. It's a beautiful campus, a lot of beautiful buildings on there, and one of the first things I learned about the city in terms of our master plan when I came on the Plan Commission 15, 16 years ago, very quickly. And we're very fortunate to have you, and I'm sure the aldermen who represent you directly, ward aldermen and surrounding aldermen, are really happy to be seeing this presentation right now. So I believe Alderman Barrero, you have a question?
Yes, I too am fond of AU and have seen many changes over the decades. And this is a very nice looking building. My question is, one of the issues with AU with respect to the neighbors has been the parking. So is this being built on top of existing parking, or is this just green space right now?
Would you, Ms. Maxwell, would you mind coming to the podium, please?
So my question is, would there be an impact, would it decrease parking or no change on the parking?
It's really no change. It's moving our library from a very dated building. And what it's really intended to do is so many of our commuter students, because of the parking, if you get your parking spot on campus, you don't abandon that during the day at all costs. And so we have a lot of commuter students that actually eat their lunch in their car because they don't want to lose their parking spot. So what we want to do is bring them out of their cars and into the community. Your residential students have the dining hall, they have their residence halls, they have their place to congregate and create community. We designed this in mind for our commuter students, which really are the residents of the community, so that they have a place to interact, to work on projects, get out of their car and eat inside with their friends and a sense of community and service really our commuter students. Will it increase enrollment? Well, we always hope it certainly will increase or maintain. But this right now, if you drive by on Prairie, is all green space right in front of the current parking garage. We used it as overflow parking for that first couple of weeks of term. We have another green space along Gladstone that we're going to do that for this year, because everybody shows up at the same time on those first 2 weeks until they get their schedules down. So we're going to move that parking onto the green space along Gladstone for those first few weeks of term that tend to be very overflowing. But this is not intended to have any impact on existing parking whatsoever. We're not removing any spots.
That's great news. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a comment.
Alderman Franco.
Minor issue. On the map here, it says Prairie Avenue, it's Prairie Street. That's
Yeah,
just,
I
just a
saw
little, just a
that.
little thing, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll
that's
get
all.
that fixed.
Chairman, can I?
I think
make
that's on the
one-
architect.
can I
So,
make one-
one second real quick. Anybody from here on this side of the dais have a question? No? No? All right. Alderman Burrow.
Yeah, this is becoming a pet peeve of mine, so I don't mean to pick on you, but I'm gonna bring it up as more developments come forward. And that is the landscaping is always beautiful, starts out great. And then when some of the shrubs or trees get full grown, you can't see the buildings. It's gonna be, you're gonna be hiding behind, so I'm just wondering if there's a way to pick certain kinds of trees to make sure they don't block out the nice view. That's all. Thank
I'd be
you.
happy to carry that comment back to our Chief Operating Officer.
And if I can make a comment on that, I've never seen an entity do landscaping as nice as AU. I live in that area, and it's outstanding. So I understand your concern, but if there's an entity you're not going to be concerned about, it's these guys. They do a really good job. You really do.
Thank you very
nice.
much.
Well,
Thank you.
are there any other questions or comments on this item? No? Hearing none, is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0. Motion is approved. Next item, clerk, we can go back to.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Mr. Minnick. Item 25-0519, please.
Item 25-0519, an ordinance enacting a municipal grocery retailer's occupation tax and municipal grocery service occupation tax.
Presentation from staff, please.
Good afternoon, Stacy Peterson, Director of Financial Operations. Today you have in front of you the proposed ordinance to institute a 1% grocery tax. I'll briefly go over a little bit of the background of the 1% tax and why we are enacting it. Back in 1990, the state of Illinois enacted a sales tax reform aimed to standardize tax collection process. The 1% grocery tax revenue was collected by the state and was distributed to the local governments to serve as a funding source for supporting government operations and essential services. In August of 2024, the governor's office signed legislation revoking the 1% grocery tax, and they will no longer be collecting the revenue as of January of 2026. The legislation also allowed municipalities to enact their own 1% grocery tax, and that's what we are bringing forward today. Municipalities have until October 1st to file appropriate documentation with the state of Illinois in order to avoid losing the revenue, and it would then take effect on January of 2026. Just want to make it clear that this is not a new tax. This ordinance continues the current practice of collecting the 1% grocery tax that has been in place for 35 years. The state is just shifting the implementation of this revenue to municipalities. By not implementing the 1% grocery tax, the city could lose approximately $4.5 million a year. This revenue is crucial for public safety, road maintenance, public works, community programs, and environmental services. Also keep in mind that currently the city is experiencing a loss of approximately $4.3 million due to the census, 2022 census. Combining both of those, that's $8.8 million that we could potentially lose. I have attached to the Legistar item the frequently asked questions that was put together by the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. That's kind of a good thing to kind of look at. That also will help, I think, a lot of our constituents to understand a little bit more information about the tax currently. And I also attached the list that IML, Illinois Municipal League, maintains that shows the list of all the current municipalities that have enacted this tax. Now, keep in mind that the municipality has to notify IML that they did pass it, so there might be some on the list that have already passed it, and they just haven't notified IML yet. Our surrounding communities that have already enacted it is Montgomery, Yorkville, North Aurora, Batavia, and Sandwich. And without this essential revenue, we could possibly face potential service cuts and then also trying to find alternative sources of revenue.
Okay, I'm figuring that that's the end of your presentation. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I appreciate that. Mr. Minnick, is there something you wanted to add since
No,
you're here? No?
Just here to answer any questions
Okay.
or assist in any way.
This is great. This presentation is very much more beneficial. It helps round everything out, what's on the docket as well. Want to make sure that this is available for the other, our other colleagues as well here at the City
Okay.
Council too.
We'll make sure that it gets distributed prior
Yeah.
to the COW.
That'd be fantastic. Help move things along a little bit too. So, any questions by the committee? This one,
So moved.
Chairman, Ms. Yakos?
Alderman Barrow.
I have a question in this regards the budget.
Mhm.
So I know we're probably just kicked off the budget process and things are early, but when would we might see some early projections for 2026 and, revenue and expenditure wise?
Well, we're in the process, as you mentioned, of compiling that data right now. And then the next step would be having the meetings with the individual departments. There's an initial discussion about each of the individual departments and divisions, what they've requested for the upcoming year, any new decision packages, any new initiatives, staffing, and those meetings have yet to happen. So I would imagine that it would be, and Stacy, you probably have a little bit of a better handle on this, but maybe the September timeframe would be appropriate for seeing maybe some of those initial projections.
Yes, September would be.
Right, and so it would be too late to be considering this at that time then? It'd be cutting it close.
Yeah, it would be cutting it very close. As you're aware, I think the information indicated, we would need to have a certified approved ordinance to the Department of Revenue prior to October 1st of 2025 in order for there to be no interruption in the tax. So they need 2 to 3 month, I guess it's a 3-month time to process, and I would imagine they're probably getting a lot of these. So that maybe accounts for some of the 3-month processing time in terms of making sure that their systems are correct and continue to levy the tax for those municipalities that wish to implement.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Bug.
Thank you, Alderman Chair Masiakos. I just have a comment, one overall and two for our third floor and their departments underneath them. Of course, anytime you're talking about taxes, you're talking about a very sensitive topic. First of all, I think we need to understand that we are moving this, of course, from the state to the city, but we're removing the administration that the state does to get all of that money back to all the municipalities. So in an overall scheme, to an Illinois resident, we're probably saving them money. Our finance department, gains or brings in taxes on any number of things every single day. And they're very good at it. They know how to handle that. And this will just be another one that we handle ourselves. There will no longer be an administration it going down to Springfield, them throwing it around and then getting it back to us. So overall, administratively, this will be a benefit to any municipality in Aurora. Secondly, I want to say to the third floor and maybe Mr. Martinez and John and that whole crew that puts these things together for our residents. And I appreciate what the DuPage mayors and managers did. We need to make this as simple as possible. So I would like to see us create a small receipt for a loaf of bread and a bag of chips, whatever you want to put on there. 2 things, and show those 2 items, the tax on those 2 items before this, and the tax on those 2 items after this. All it's going to change is it's going to say state that amount, and on the new one it's going to say city this amount. But the ending amount on both is going to be exactly the same. And that's what our residents need to see. So if Tony Martinez and the communications team and all those people are listening, I think that's what we need to put forward to our residents so they fully understand there is absolutely zero impact when they go to the grocery store when this goes through. They will pay the exact same amount. So I trust Nick Thompson, wave or say something over there. Make sure we got the memo going that way. Who's over there from the 3rd floor? Oh, Shannon, hi. There you are. From the dais, we can't see anybody. All right, thank you. All right, please pass that along for our residents so they're very clear on what's happening here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just said move.
Oh, we have a motion by Alderman Franco. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Alderman Dan Barrero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye, 4-1. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you. 4-1. Yes. All right, next item, clerk.
Item 25-0552, an ordinance amending Article 44, Section 191 of the Municipal Code, Hotel Occupancy Tax.
Thank you, John, for bringing that up. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the hotel occupancy tax. There is a proposal and an ordinance to make a few changes to the hotel occupancy tax moving forward. The hotel occupancy tax actually was established and enacted in December of 1987. It's currently Section 44-191 of the City Code of Ordinances and imposes a city tax at a rate of 3% on hotel room rental charges. It does not apply to items such as room service, movie charges, or any incidentals that a particular individual or hotel guest may incur as part of their stay in a hotel room. It's simply based on the charge to rent the room. So if that rental charge is $100, that person has to pay a tax of $3 to the city. That rate of 3% has not changed since the ordinance went into effect back in 1987. And as mentioned a moment ago, this is a pass-through tax that the hotelier collects from the person renting the room and then remits it to the city on a monthly basis. This is one of the locally administered taxes that Alderman Bugg had referenced a moment ago that the Finance Department has the responsibility to administer. It's also important to note that the hotel occupancy tax does not apply to rooms in dormitories that are operated by religious institutions, schools, or universities, including staff housing. So when we referenced the residential students at Aurora University a few minutes ago, the hotel occupancy tax does not apply in those instances. What we've seen over time is that other communities have kind of passed the city by in terms of the rate that they charge for their hotel occupancy taxes. And I've got a list a little bit later in the presentation that kind of illustrates that. What we've seen is that rates of 5 to 6% of those room rental charges are what's more common and becoming and more commonly applied in communities these days. Worthy of note is that even at the 3% tax rate, we do generate approximately $550,000 to about $585,000 on an annual basis, and we'll go through that in a moment. The revenue inures to the benefit of the general fund and finances city operations. Additionally, we do have a commitment that we have made to the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. We do make a financial contribution in support of their efforts via an agreement we have with them. Currently, that amount is set at $225,000 annually. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the remainder is available for city operations. This is the hotel occupancy tax. This is the revenue history from 2018 to 2024. You can see in recent times, from about the end of COVID in 2021 through the last calendar year, we received roughly $575,000 to $585,000 in revenue at that 3% rate. Years 2021 and 2020 are a bit of an anomaly, just simply because that's when there were a lot of closings and a lot of restricted travel related to the COVID pandemic. And then you can see prior to COVID, in 2018 and 2019, we had approximately $500,000 to $550,000 in revenue on an annual basis. 7-year average of all of those is about $502,000 annually. If you take out 2020 and 2021, the average is about $554,000, just shy of $555,000 annually. This chart is, as promised, a bit of a comparison with various area communities. You can see Joliet has the highest local tax at a rate of about 10%. I've also highlighted where Aurora falls in both the current and the proposed state of the hotel tax rates. Primarily, you can see that the rates range from 3% up to about that 10% range, with the majority falling in the 5 to 6% range moving forward. So the proposal from staff and what the ordinance that's enclosed in the packet today presupposes is that we would take a look at increasing the hotel tax rate from 3% to 6% to better match the region, the rates that we see in the region and throughout the suburban community. Additionally, we would be proposing a flat $10 tax fee for comped rooms. So in other words, we expect the casino to open up sometime in the next several months. If there were an event where they would be comping rooms for individuals related to rewards programs or their level of play, those kinds of things, we would ask that they still collect that $10 flat fee for the privilege of renting the room to the traveler at that particular point, and then remitting that to the city. We are proposing that the tax changes would take effect January 1st, 2026. That allows us time to be able to give our hoteliers notice and work with them to make sure that they have the appropriate systems in place to be able to capture any additional or make any changes to their systems that they would need to make as a result of that. We would anticipate, obviously, that would provide additional revenue annually. We'll talk in a moment about the extent. It's also, I think, worthy to note that currently we have about 635 hotel rooms here in the Aurora inventory. And we do expect that the casino will add approximately 220 rooms to that total. In terms of potential additional revenue generation, those 635 rooms that are existing today that we referenced a moment ago would generate probably about an average of about $568,000 on an annual basis. As we mentioned, we're going to be doubling the rate. We would anticipate that the revenue would double as well. Additionally, As I mentioned a moment ago, we do anticipate the addition of approximately 220 rooms in the next several months at the casino hotel. We do estimate right now that those items or that those rooms could generate $560,000 of additional revenue as well. That would be, again, once the casino normalizes at their full rate of operations, and it might take a few months to maybe even a year or two to get there, but we do anticipate that that could be the potential revenue generation. That's total potential new revenue over the next couple of years of about $1,128,000 annually. Some of the benefits in terms of the hotel occupancy tax, the tax is a discretionary tax. People make a conscious decision generally to stay in a hotel. Additionally, hotel rooms are not typically shopped based on a hotel occupancy tax rate. They're typically generated, and the demand is typically generated by the location of the hotel and the simple activities that the individual travelers want to take advantage of. Additionally, the tax applies almost exclusively to and is paid almost exclusively by non-residents. Visitors to the area taking advantage of our attractions would be the ones responsible for paying the taxes. And additionally, as mentioned earlier, it would provide additional revenues to be able to offset our costs of operation. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have related to the proposal.
Mr. Minnick, again, presentation. If you can get that to the other aldermen as well.
We'll make sure
Very well
both
done.
of them are
Absolutely.
available.
I have a question for you real
Okay.
quick, because I don't understand how you collect tax on a comped room. How do we?
Well,
How do we
we're
keep an eye on that?
imposing
How's that happen?
imposing the charge with the expectation that, the hotel has made the decision that they're going to, the conscious business decision based on a reward for that particular traveler, that they're going to comp the room for them. So the hotelier would have to still collect that $10, or they would decide to eat it and pay over that $10 to the city.
So they'd have to put it into a specific system. So it's an honor system or no?
It would
On their
not be
part?
an honor system. It would be part of the hotel tax return. They would have a legal responsibility. It's part of the ordinance.
Okay.
They would
All
have a
right.
legal responsibility to collect and pay that in the same manner as they would the other 6% or 3%,
Okay.
depending.
All right, appreciate that. Just wanted to know.
Question.
Alderman Franco.
So I'm questioning the math, and I always hate to question you guys with math. And I think I'm questioning it for the good. So we're showing in here that we're making $550,000 now on the existing hotel rooms. Doubling it puts us at 1.1 million. 220 rooms from the hotel, which is a third of what we have now. Getting 6% puts us at about 1.4 million just off the top of my head, and you're showing a little bit less than that. So are we underestimating a little bit? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm just spitballing right now.
We have a bit of a tradition and a history of estimating revenues conservatively.
Right.
It's a lot easier to handle when we shoot low and then we experience a level that's greater than what we anticipated than it is to go the other way typically, where we expect more revenue, but we come in below that. So it is a conservative assumption. I would say conservative to slightly to realistic, but definitely I tend to shoot a little bit lower, particularly when we're implementing new revenues. I mean, we just don't know what the
Right.
demand is going to be at the hotel,
Okay.
at the casino, and those kinds of things.
All right, I just saw it, I'm like, well, I think we could do better than that, but I understand the conservative viewpoint on that, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
It's better to go that way. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Bug.
Thank you, Chairman Masiacos. Thank you so much for the listing from our nearby cities. It gives us a good understanding of where we fall within our community. I'm going to ask you just to add one,
Okay.
the big one, Chicago. I don't know what it's at right now. It's either 12 or 15, one of those two, I'm pretty sure. And I think that gives us really an understanding. And we talk about it when Mr. Carlson comes, and we talk about that we give money to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, that this is tied to it. So, of course, our residents per se are not paying our fee for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our visitors are.
Correct.
And they come into our hotels, they pay this fee or tag, whatever you want to call it, fee tax. And then we, of course, pay the Convention and Visitors Bureau for being a part of that organization. So this very much shows that we have been very, very low, especially with the cities of size. Of course, we're the second largest, and we're down near the bottom here. You see our comparables of Naperville, Rockford, those types of cities in Joliet, much, much, much higher than where we are currently, and this will put us in line with those. I don't think we need to look at downstate, but I imagine theirs, Peoria, Champaign, and those, they're up near the 6% also. So, yeah, if we could just throw in Chicago to give us some reference, because we are second, I think that'll be good to give a reference there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Franco.
So, Alderman Bug, just real quick, I did look up Chicago. They're a 4.5, but they have a 17.39 conglomerate of taxes added onto this. So it's really muddled, but it's high. It's really high. I mean, if you break it down, you're paying all these taxes. So, yeah, I think it's good to put it in there, but it's really this tax and that tax, everything, which comes to the consumer, basically. It's just it's a conglomeration of nuts, so.
Chairman Masiacos.
Alderman Burrow.
I have a question, Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
So the flat tax is,
Yes.
are there other communities implementing or have implemented that?
I honestly, I have not seen that, but what we are attempting to do, obviously, is to make sure that in those instances where those business decisions are made by the casino or by other entities, that we have a means to make sure that the city is made whole in terms of collection of the revenue for those things.
And that $10 is per day?
That $10 would be per day, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderman Bug.
Yeah, I'll just, in the travel industry, more so, resort towns, but this is a common practice across the board. Kind of say you get a comped room, you only have to pay the fees or the tax, but the room itself is comped. So yeah, that's, and you see it more so when you go into, Florida, Orlando, Myrtle Beach, places like that. But that's very, very common. And of course, big Las Vegas, yeah. You pay the little tax on your free room, so.
Okay. All right. Well.
I make a motion.
Yep. Your motion to approve. Mr. Minnick, again, a lot of this information is on our docket, but it's a little bit more pleasing to the eye, what's presented here as well. That's why I mentioned to share it with the rest of the committee. I should say,
Yes.
not the committee, the city council.
Yes,
moving forward.
we'll make sure that both this and the grocery tax presentations are parts of the packet for Tuesday night.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just easier to look at
Yes.
than black and white. So we have a motion approved by Alderman Franco. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Alderman Bug. Is there a motion to approve? And although we have a motion to approve, I should say, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Minnick.
Thank you.
Clerk, would you please read the next item on the agenda?
Item 25-0485, a resolution authorizing execution of labor agreement between the City of Aurora and the Aurora Supervisors Association, ASA, from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
presentation here from Human Resources. Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Good afternoon, Alicia Lewis, Chief Human Resources Officer. Before you is the collective bargaining agreement that we're asking for authorization for the Aurora Supervisors Association. The Aurora Supervisors Association is our bargaining group that supervises our maintenance employees. And their current agreement is going to expire at the end of this year. We're here a little bit earlier than we normally are because they did ask that we get started knowing that there's been a lot of transition and whatnot, and wanted to kind of get in front of all the other groups that will be expiring at the end of the year. There are currently 18 supervisors in this group. Always been a real good group to work with. What you'll see here is pretty comparable wages for the next 3 years, 26, 27, 28 at 4%, very similar to the agreements that we have with the collective bargaining agreements, the different groups that we've settled within the past couple months. Questions?
All right. Any questions from the committee? Ms. Lewis.
Question.
Alderman Franco.
Was there anything with the health insurance part of this negotiations about?
They are already at 20%.
Oh, they're already.
They agreed to that
Okay.
in the
Okay.
well before the last contract, so
Okay.
they're on board.
Okay, good. I usually it comes in, together with everything. Usually, we get an increase in pay, but then you also have the health insurance thing combined, so I was just wondering about
Correct,
that.
yeah, and our goal, the city's goal has been to get everybody to that 20%.
Sure.
So we've slowly worked all the groups to that percentage.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Fair amount of cleanup in this as well, right?
A little bit of cleanup. There's some
Resolution.
language clarification in regards to promotion to set some parameters so that both sides understand kind of what the expectation is.
All right.
Yeah.
Alderman Bug.
Oh, no, I'm good.
No, you're good? All right.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman
Second.
Franco to approve, second by Alderman Larson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Clerk, would you
Thank
please
you.
read the next item on the agenda?
Item 25-0564, a resolution authorizing the purchase of Cornerstone's on-demand public sector e-learning subscription in the amount of $106,658.60 from August 15th, 2025 to August 15th, 2028.
Should I start?
Oh, please, my apologies.
I didn't go anywhere.
I was reading
Alicia Lewis
something here.
again, Chief Human Resources Officer. This item is, we're requesting to renew a contract with Cornerstone on-demand public sector e-learning. This is our online training system that the city actually just implemented 3 years ago, so it's our next step into improving and providing resources to our employees. So this is an online learning program they can go in. There's different training modules. It also allows for us to have our employees complete mandated state required training. So this subscription is expiring in August. So we are requesting that, and we've done a good job with it. You'll see a little bit more of an increase because this time around we're getting it integrated into UKG, which is our employee payroll system, as well as our HRIS system. Questions?
Yeah, I've got a question for you. How long have we had this program?
3 years.
3
So we're
years
go-
total?
yeah.
Okay.
The first contract was 3 years, and now we're looking to renew it for another 3 years.
Another 3 years, okay.
Yes.
And we're committed to 3 years? Or is this renewable options every year?
We would be
I don't
committing
remember-
to 3 years.
All right, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any questions from the committee? Alderman Bug.
Yeah, I just, if you can add to the legislation text, just how much it was the last contract? I didn't see that.
It was actually
Number.
24,000. So this year, the base is not increasing. The, what you'll see, why you'll see is an increase, excuse me, is because there is now that we're integrating with UKG, we're getting charged for the $10,000 for integration fee, and there is an annual integration fee. So we actually didn't get any increase in terms of the actual subscription.
Okay. Can you just?
But I
put-
can, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just
I
in the
can put it, I can
legislation
put it
text, just
into the
put one
text.
sentence in there, yeah. So before it's 24,000 for 3 years, or 72,000 before.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Franco. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bug. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I think that can,
Thank you.
you're welcome. If there are any other questions before the committee,
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn. Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. We are adjourned at 3:58. Thank you, one and all.